All right. Feels weird. First time. Okay. Hi, I'm Bobby Johnson, and this is Brandon Grundy.
Hello.
And we're here to discuss the Suwannee 230. In particular, we're here to discuss a first-timer. I've been doing this stuff for almost 8 years, and I mean, I still go through a lot of stuff, but when you see someone, you know, the Suwannee 230 is not an easy race to do. It's in North Florida. You are pretty much alone. Yes, this is a supported race, but it's tough. A lot of bends, a lot of alone time. It's very dark. Anyways, I would like to know Brandon's thoughts and his feelings before, during, and after the race. And I think what this is going to do is there's not a lot of information out on the internet on ultra paddling. And by doing these interviews, I think it's going to help people become more comfortable with the thought of actually trying this ultra paddling world. So here we go.
All right.
Brandon,
Yes.
why did you choose to do a sup?
To do it on SUP?
Yes.
Oh gosh. I just like standing up.
Right.
You
It's
know-
one of the toughest ways to do it.
Right, but I'm a newbie that doesn't know any better, and so I tried sitting down, and the whole time it's like I would just rather be sitting up or standing up. So that's kind of what I gravitated to.
Sure. What kind of board were you on?
So for the 230, I was on a Flying Fish.
Yeah.
They're Freedom Pro, I think they refer to it
What
as.
size
14 foot,
and width?
25 and a half.
And were you happy with that?
Oh yeah, it was super stable. The few times I fell off, it was entirely my fault.
We're going to get to that.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean the board was super stable. I mean I love that thing. It glides like it's silky smooth.
Right.
And on that river, it felt awesome.
This isn't your first race in ultra paddling, because he has done a dragon boat Guinness World Record on the MR340, which the race did end early, but we were able to do a 200-mile Guinness record in a dragon boat. Single blade paddling, 17 of us in a boat, and it was very impressive. You also do OC6 paddling,
Yep.
6-person boat, and you do have a experience in the last paddler standing.
Yes, that's a good word for it. I have experienced
Right.
last paddler standing.
But here's the thing about the last paddler standing. That's not a solo adventure. You're with people the entire time.
Except when you're at the back of the pack like me.
What?
It's
Sure.
like everybody's gone. Where'd they go? And
I had that
I'm
same feeling when I was in the last paddler standing. Yeah, that was the
Yep.
lap I was done.
But yeah, it is different because, like you said, the Suwannee. I mean, it's beautiful, but it is at night. It is dark,
Dark.
and I didn't see it for long stretches of time. Nobody in front of me, nobody behind me, with the exception of my crew, one person, and then my wife. For the second half of it, I didn't see anybody.
Right.
I mean, not a soul,
Tried to warn
which is
you.
kind of cool. I mean, it was cool,
Yeah.
but
It's an amazing experience out there.
yeah, it's definitely an experience.
Do you feel like you're having a midlife crisis?
Ask my wife; she'll give you one answer.
I questioned this myself because I was doing this.
Well, I don't have the earring yet. I don't have the. Anyway, I don't think so. I don't know. I just
You are how old?
40, soon to be 47. Actually, during last paddler standing this go round, that's my birthday weekend.
Oh, okay.
So soon to be 47. I don't. If I'm searching for anything, it's just adventure, I suppose.
Limits, maybe?
Yeah, limits that's definitely part of it. Kind of get beyond sort of arbitrary notions of what's possible. Like limitations that I've set for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like to go 230 whatever miles on a paddleboard.
It's no joke.
Yeah, I had no inclination about what that really meant, but I don't feel like there's anything missing in my life that I don't know. So midlife crisis, I guess I'll say no. Yeah, but again, ask my wife; she might give you a different answer.
More adventure.
Yeah, and just be out there in nature.
Well, your wife blames it on me.
Yeah, well, it's all your fault.
Yeah. A little background on that. He moved from California, him and his family, 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
My wife met his wife, blah, blah, blah. I do the OC6, started talking to him about paddling. He seems like a fit guy, started doing a little bit of paddling. And then kind of one thing led to another. And then every time I asked him to join us on something, he said yes. I said, what about the last paddler standing? He said yes. Jesus, this guy's easy. The dragon boat, yes. And then I said, well, hey, I'm going to do the Suwannee 230 on a sup. You want to do it with me? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty impressive.
Well, I'd done a running race up there,
Yes.
and kind of fell in love with the river. I mean, it's a beautiful spot. What do they call it? Like black water, dark water, whatever it is. I mean, it's stunning. It's remote. It's kind of rugged in its own way, but it's gorgeous. And so, when I was running, a lot of the run was right along the banks, and I think I got to come back up here. Little did I know at the time, because I wasn't really doing any paddling at the time,
Right.
that it was going to be in a 230-mile race.
Yeah, you've
So,
done a
it's
lot
funny
in a
how
short
things
amount of
work
time.
out. Yeah.
All right, moving on. What was your goal for this race?
It's just to finish, and try to have a good time. Find where those limits were. I'd never paddled all night before, and so I got to do it twice. I had, like I said, I had no concept of what, I know how far a certain mileage is on my feet, but not on my feet like on a paddleboard, So to be able to, I don't know, so I accomplished my main goal. I finished. I had, a pretty good time most of the time.
Right.
So check and check.
Yeah, first night's scary, and you got to do it second night, which is a little different.
Right.
All right. Tell us about your training.
Okay. Well, I mean, so being a runner, kind of at my core, I'm a runner, or I've realized that I like to do things that are repetitive in nature. Same movement, kind of over and over and over again. I like to kind of fall into that, and so I really treated my training for the race like I would for a running race, where I try to build my mileage, regular sessions during the week, 3 or 4 times a week.
What did you build the
paddling.
mileage up to?
Well, really, because I ended up doing 2 sections on 2 different days of the Suwannee.
That's
so
right.
I did a 42 mile, I did a 31 or 32, whatever it is, that final section, just to get on the river, get some direct experience with it, but then also to kind of build up my mileage. And then so I don't know, like when I did the 42 miles that week, it was mostly hours. I probably paddled for 14 hours or something that week, cumulatively, with 8 that day, and then maybe another 6 that week. So kind of just getting out on the water and then getting those longer paddle sessions, pretty much like you train for a marathon.
So mainly your short ones were 4 to 8 miles?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So it's the week before.
Yeah.
Did it affect your sleep?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Even the night before, I didn't really sleep the night before.
Well, I mean, we took you into a swamp the day before that.
Yeah, true. I mean, I wouldn't say that I was biting my fingernails off or anything, but I was nervous. I was
Keeps
kind
you
of
up a little
anxious
bit.
about it. Yeah. And then the final week, and I know this from running, it's like you might experience this too, where all of a sudden you feel like you need new gear. I should bring this, I should bring that, what don't I have?
Yeah, I'm curious what your concerns are, so this is answering.
Yeah, but it's, especially when you do something for the first time, well, let me just bring everything, but you can't bring everything.
Right.
So I've had some experience with the emotions around that.
Some people do bring everything.
Oh, I know.
We know who you are.
Or bring two of everything,
Yeah.
just in case. For
I saw
redundancy.
someone bring a microwave one time. You know who you are.
Yeah.
And a generator.
Right, sure. When in doubt, just bring it, but not if you have to carry it the entire time.
Did you feel like you didn't get enough training in?
Well, you could always train more.
Sure.
You know.
What is enough though?
What is enough? So
yeah.
It's like, do you do 230 miles
What is
of
too
training
much?
for two? Exactly. So I think I felt more or less physically ready to accomplish my main goals. You know, finish and have a good time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, enough. I would do more longer paddles, but again, it's whenever you do something like this the first time.
When you say more longer paddles, how far?
So I did a 20 some odd. We did that together.
You did a 20 mile.
I did a 30 some odd, a 40 some odd. I'd do a few more of those.
In any of your training, were you adding weight to your boat?
Lots of extra food, but not
Okay.
weight specific.
And were you doing intervals?
Sort of, yeah.
I mean, when you're out here in the bay, anyways, you're kind of doing intervals, whether you
Yeah,
like it or
into
not.
the wind or into the current or both.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. It's race time. You, me, and my crew, Greg Wingo,
Mm-hmm. Great guy.
go up to the Okefenokee Swamp. This Okefenokee Swamp is what feeds the beginning of the Suwannee River. And we decided to do a boat trip into the swamp the day before. Now I've already done this, so I know what to expect. He's from California, so Greg knows what to expect. He's from Alabama. So we go into the swamp, and what do we see?
Oh, gators. Lots of gators. Big gators, small gators. Yeah, it's Gator Central.
It's got to affect your mind. I'm assuming it does. I'm back there kind of laughing.
Yeah, I mean, I not knowing it well. So I mean, being on these couple sections of the river before, I'd seen gators up there. I mean, they don't really
That big?
Well, I mean, from a distance, you know, so
okay.
not quite that close. I wouldn't want to go through the Okefenokee Swamp at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I would not either.
I can tell you that much. But so no, it didn't really affect me.
There's no fence though. They've got to be in the Suwannee also.
Oh, they're there.
Even though you don't really see them.
I saw them from Fanning Springs down to the finish.
That's
section.
common.
Yeah, I saw what it was like that first night where it's all twisty and turning. Eyeballs. Big things running into the water or getting out of the water.
You are hallucinating?
No, that was the first night. No hallucinations until
Okay.
night 2.
All right.
But it was.
I didn't see anything enter the water that night.
Yeah, I heard things. Not the sturgeon splashing, but
Right.
just maybe it was a boar or something.
Right.
Or,
Well, you don't get to sturgeon until like the Withlacoochee.
Yeah.
So, and what time did you get there at? Do you remember?
That was that last morning, early.
So right in the morning.
4 o'clock in the morning or something like that.
All right. All right. So Okefenokee sees a bunch of alligators, and then we go do the whole pre-race meeting, and that was nice. And
Yeah.
it's time to go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. Or time to lie awake and.
Yeah. Take us through that night before the race and the start.
Well, I mean, like one of the things you said at the outset, that there's not a lot of available information, about how to do this kind of thing, or even about the race specifically. I probably watched Scott Bass, 30 some odd minute YouTube video on the race like 5 times, just trying to glean little tidbits of information. But, I mean, making food, kind of getting everything set. But always that nagging feeling like, what am I forgetting? Am I not bringing enough of this, not bringing enough of that? And then also, not being used to a river and doing this kind of event, trying to think about when you're going to meet a crew person. Do I have enough water to get me from A to B?
Right.
Is he going to have enough to get me then to C, and on and on.
It's a hot day.
And just anxiety around that. But I also kind of had, again, I tried to have a spirit of adventure. And then, so that morning, it's a very, as you know, it's a very remote area. There's not a lot of stuff around there except kind of you and the race start.
Yeah.
So getting there, and then the Le Mans start. So newbie mistake. Everybody was setting up their stuff, and then I had water, and I had a Camelback, and I had, I kind of had my stuff. I felt pretty good with what I had.
Explain the Le Mans start.
Yeah, so the Le Mans start being, everybody sets up their kayaks, their canoe, their paddleboard or whatever at the water. And then we move off the water for a little pre-race meeting, and then they do the countdown, and then you sort of run or walk or whatever to your boat and get in and go.
Right.
So in doing that, a few miles later, I went to take a sip from my Camelback and realized it was not on my back. It was not on my paddleboard.
What?
I left it on the beach.
Really?
Which is not common for me, but it just shows how kind of
nerves
and out of myself I was. And I had my iPhone in a sandwich bag, which I usually do when I go in the water. And I had it in
all you put your phone in?
Well, and then it goes in a dry bag.
Okay.
But I didn't have it in my dry bag, which was on my paddleboard. I put it in the little pocket of my Camelback, which I had never done before.
Right.
I don't know what made me think to do that. And so not only was my Camelback on the beach with 2.5 liters of water and nutrition, but my iPhone was still in there. And so fortunately, because how many people started the race? It was like
21.
21. Okay.
Yeah. 30 people signed up, 21 started.
Okay. So, it's one nice thing about this that I found is there's not, 500 people. It's small enough where they can see, oh my gosh, somebody left their Camelback.
That's right.
And then they get it to Greg Wingo in this case, who meets me at Fargo.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't planning to stop there, but I was like, hopefully, I knew that was the first spot.
About 15 miles downriver.
Yeah, exactly. And so he had it, and
did you have anything to drink?
Yeah, no, I had that. The Camelback was I had more than enough,
okay.
But it was mostly the phone, because I was planning on using that, which is a whole nother thing, for some communication, because communication is kind of spotty. The phone doesn't work all the time. But to have some sense of time.
What is Fargo? When we went to the city of Fargo, Georgia?
Yeah.
What did you think of that? Could you even call the city?
I think I read somewhere, it might be another town, but their population doubled from 2010 to 2020, from like 65 to 123.
It's
that's the remoteness.
A very
that we're
tiny
about.
place.
Yeah. But so anyway, it was good to have that back. The race is small enough where somebody was able to find that, bring it to me, which is just awesome.
And you changed your plans with your crew, which was your wife.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife was going to crew me the whole time, and then schedule conflicts or whatever, I was able to use your crew person, Greg Wingo, for that first day and the first night.
Yeah, thanks, Greg.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. And then he also helped my wife kind of, by talking her through some things, for the rest of the time.
Sure.
So, yeah, he was a lifesaver.
And my wife was talking to your wife also.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, we were blessed by the iPhone gods for a little while.
So continue on for your first day. I'm curious about your first day.
Yeah.
And what you went through, what you saw, how you felt, how the board felt, the bit. It's a very... The difficulty of the Suwannee River is the first 100 miles is like this. It just does not stop twisting and turning.
Oh, yeah.
And you build up
It's
speed.
narrow.
And then when you get to the bends of the river, it takes away your speed. Mostly if you do not know what you're doing, do you go inside, do you do middle, or do you do outside? So people need to learn how to navigate these rivers to increase your speed through every single turn, so you're not constantly wearing yourself down, because it's a constant build yourself up, get to the bend, slow yourself down, you come out of the bend, you build yourself back up. So you're brand new to this. We're on paddleboards. I did it on the paddleboard also. Paddleboards are not that fast.
Right.
So
well, I was surprised actually, because I was getting passed by, as I would expect, some canoers and kayakers or whatever, just people were passing me. And like, oh, I didn't know a paddleboard was so fast. It took them a while to pass me, but then they'd pass me. And then this is where, within a handful of miles or so, and it's all twisty-turny, and I was hardly seeing anybody.
mm-hmm.
So there was a few times where, am I going the right way? Not the wrong way per se, but there were different ways to get through a turn.
Sure.
And I didn't
There
have
are
anybody
little islands that you can go around. Yeah.
And I didn't have anybody to follow pretty quick. Which was cool because it was. I mean, that section of river is stunningly beautiful.
Yes, it is.
I mean, the trees and different types of trees and.
The cypress trees up there are my favorite.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Yeah.
And the lower the river gets, the more spectacular it becomes.
I'll bet.
We actually had some decent water.
But I mean, so that whole first day. Well, firstly it was worrying about my phone, which I got back. And then it was, just trying to continue on. I didn't have any problems. I didn't have any, kind of weird issues or anything like that.
Body felt good.
Body felt good. Really, I mean, that entire first day, it was just, I did dunk once. I had switched to a shorter fin, which is made by Flying Fish because they came out with their new fins. It's maybe 2 or 3 inches shorter than the fin I had. It wasn't catching my fin on anything in particular, but I was just coming around a corner and there was just a tree that I took a little too long to navigate around and just, threw myself off the board.
Sure. You lose stability when you get a shorter fin.
Yeah. But otherwise, first day was great.
All right.
Yeah.
What time did you get to the big shoals?
Before sundown.
That's good.
And that was a goal. I just remember watching those Scott Base videos multiple times. It's like, oh, this is a goal. Get there. It's like, okay, makes sense.
And big shoals is like mile 50,
56, 58, something like that.
Yeah.
So I got there. Well, this is the thing is I ended up having I didn't really know what time it was pretty much the whole day because I'd have my phone, but I didn't want to stop and check it all the time, and I was not wearing a watch. Okay. I brought an old Garmin watch I use for running that I guess the battery's fried, so it ended up being in low battery mode, which doesn't work very well. So it was trash basically.
Yeah. I always try to put a watch somewhere on my boat. It's not on me, just on my boat, so I can just see what time it is.
And that's, not if, but when I do something like this again, I want to have something better for that. But I wanted to get to Big Shoals, through Big Shoals, the portage and all that kind of stuff before dark.
How did you get through it? Easy?
Oh yeah, it was super smooth.
Super easy.
I wouldn't want to do it at 2:00 in the morning,
right.
With a headlamp and in like an 18-foot, surf ski or something like that, but 18 and a half, whatever they are. But with the paddleboard, it weighs like 24, 25 pounds. I don't have that much stuff I'm carrying, so I could just grab it.
Did you hold it like this or put it on your shoulder?
No, I just held it, like a briefcase.
Yeah, I threw mine on my shoulder. It was super easy.
Yeah, and so it was. I had brought a pair of Crocs with me. Just usually I go barefoot, but just to not step on anything sharp. Threw those on, did the portage, got back in the water. I was actually surprised at how short the portage was. Looking at it on a Google map, it makes it look a little longer of a trail.
Yeah, I was shocked too. Yeah. I've always just taken the lower part. There's always a trail alongside of a river, and I would just walk the lower part. So I had no idea that was even up there.
Yeah. So that was uneventful. I mean, compared with how people build it up. Yeah. The weird part though is all the foam that the rapids create. Yeah. And then as the sun started going down,
kind of fun blasting through it.
Yeah, it was cool, but the whole time I was kind of paranoid about running into underwater limbs and getting just tossed off the board again, tossed off the board in the dark. And so that made it hard. Because it gets
real rocky around that area. And rocky, further on down.
Yeah, but so with the foam, and then as the sun was setting and then it was getting dark, then the foam kind of dissipated eventually. But that was kind of an unexpected challenge is too strong a word, but that was interesting.
Just a little side note: if you ever do the Suwannee 230, through the insurance that is provided, they do not allow you to actually run the shoals at Big Shoals Park in Florida.
It's a Class 3 rapid or something like that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It didn't look like much when we went by it.
Well, and the portage again is short enough where just don't worry about it.
And the other thing is too, why risk your boat?
Yeah.
Because those rocks will rip your boat to pieces.
Well, and even if I was sitting down, if I was in a kayak or whatever, I mean, it's a good opportunity to get out and stretch your legs.
Sure.
And the walk is less than I don't know, it's like 3 minutes.
It's really good for you to get out of your boat and move on your feet,
yeah.
even on a paddleboard, even though we're standing up, because it's not a natural movement.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. There's a very slight uphill rise, and I was like, oh, cool, uphill. It actually felt good.
Right.
After being, those hours on the paddleboard to walk uphill.
All right, so you get there, sunset's happening. Right around the corner is CP1. Was Rod or Ryan at CP? Or, I'm sorry, it's actually CP2. I've always called it CP1 because I never knew the bridge was actually CP1. But anyways.
Nobody was there except Greg.
Okay, so Greg was there.
Yeah, and that was one of the first times where so it was dark at that point, and when I was with him, it was pretty brief. Just did kind of a water jug switch out, and then when I turned around, and with no headlamp on or anything, just turned around and looked back at the river, I could not see a thing. It was so dark.
Oh yeah, well, those trees are like on top of you there.
Oh yeah, I mean, so,
and you're in a city, a town, White Springs too.
The town.
Yeah. Exactly. So and it doesn't
the
help
thriving
at all.
metropolis. But I remember distinctly the feeling of kind of throwing my paddleboard back in the water and hopping on and going downstream, not being able to, my night vision was totally shot because I wasn't wearing a headlamp when going down river. As it just totally wrecks your night vision.
It destroys it.
It's better to have.
But it makes you feel comfortable though, also.
Well, when I would try it, because I did a couple of times. I cycled through different light settings. Like, this sucks. It's like it's reflecting off stuff. It's not. So I just turn it off, get used to the dark. But then, that time, kind of shoving off from that checkpoint, it was so dark. And
all right. So before we get into that first night, I do have a question for you. The gear you brought for the day one, is there something else that you wish you would have had, or was there something on your boat that you just? I know you brought everything because you didn't have your crew.
Correct.
That first day.
Yeah.
But is there any type of gear that you wish you would have had, or gear on the boat that you should just get rid of?
No, I should. I would have. I wish I would have had a better, kind of Garmin-esque, like a watch or something that has really good battery power, that can tell me roughly what mile I'm at.
Okay.
Because my watch had worked great for running, even on distant trails.
So you had nothing.
I had nothing. I had nothing.
You didn't bring a GPS with you, if anything.
No, well, I had a spot because that was required by the race.
Yeah, but that doesn't tell you.
But I didn't have anything else, and so what I would do is I would check my phone. Well, what time is it? And do kind of some basic math. This kind of speed.
You don't even know your speed.
Yeah, it's just a guess.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so basically I've got maybe another hour or whatever before I see my crew person. So I would have. That's probably the only thing I would have for that first day, first night. I would have just brought less stuff, less food. I think I had, like 8 or 10 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and like handfuls of. My dry bag looked like a Halloween candy bag. I did not need half that stuff.
Right. It's just normal stuff.
Yeah, but I'm glad I had it.
Yeah.
But yeah, some method for knowing pretty accurately where I'm at on the river would be good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because as you know, the spot doesn't. It tells other people, but it tells you nothing.
It makes you feel really good at times to know your distance and speed, and other times
I prefer not to know.
Terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
You just turn it off, but at least you have it.
Right.
Okay. Completed your whole first day.
Yep.
Feeling pretty good. Nothing hurts.
Nope.
Got all your gear. You're heading into the first night.
Yeah.
What is it like?
Well, I mean, that was the biggest source. Like, so the night before the race, what was ironically keeping me up at night was worrying about the first night. Not afraid of the dark or anything like that necessarily. It's just the unknown that the dark presents, or obscures, if you want to think of it that way. I didn't have any hallucinations or anything that night.
First night.
Yeah, first night.
First night's pretty easy.
I felt full of energy. I felt I was trying to accentuate the positive. There's no fog. Because you've said, other people have
about
said,
it every single time. Fog.
Thick fog, that would have royally sucked.
It would royally suck for anybody who's on there. It doesn't matter if you've done it 10 times.
Yeah.
It sucks.
So it was a very dark night. The stars were bright. They were beautiful in the river.
Milky Way galaxy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as much stargazing as you can do.
Yeah,
But so instead of looking up, I would look ahead, at the water. 'Cause
you
gotta
look at
watch
the
it
stars
anyway.
on the water.
Exactly. So watching shooting stars reflecting on the water was pretty cool. But it took me a while as the sun, going through that foam, and then the sun started going down, and it was probably, I don't know, lost track of time, sort of on purpose. But a good hour, 2 hours before I could kind of settle in.
Right.
And at some point I actually started to enjoy it. I just got comfortable with the fact that it's just dark and we're going to keep paddling and eventually the sun will come up.
Yeah, 'cause what are you gonna do? Just sit there?
What are you going to do? Yeah. Wait for it to be daylight, and then that doesn't work either.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, you just got to keep going. But yeah, it was very, for a first time thing, it was quite the experience.
Super impressive, by the way.
Yeah.
For you to do that, because a lot of people, even veterans of that race, they pull over and go to sleep the first night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because most people are not comfortable with paddling at night. And for you sit-downers, meaning kayakers, people who do surf skis, you can stargaze all you want. But when you're on a paddleboard, you try to look up.
Yeah,
and
if you
paddle,
look up
it's
too long,
like you're going
yeah.
in.
Yeah.
As much as I wanted to look up, I got to the point where I started feeling somewhat. When I got into the open areas, and I could just drag my paddle along the river and then start looking up because it was beautiful.
Yeah,
So,
it was beautiful.
all right, so starting to get comfortable.
Yeah.
If you got to the Withlacoochee River, did you get to see Greg that night?
Well, now I'm trying. Oh, okay. I'm getting the Withlacoochee and the San Juan.
Oh no,
confused.
the Santa Fe.
Santa Fe.
Yeah. So what you would actually run into within the first 100 miles of that river is the Alfalfa River, is what it's called, and then the Withlacoochee. And you should have noticed a dramatic increase in water flow when you hit those
Yeah,
rivers.
maybe
I
it was-
actually got down on my knees when I approached them because the current was so strong coming out of them. That I was afraid if I kept standing up, that I would have probably just got thrown off the board.
Yeah.
So, and then the speed increased.
Yeah. I can't tell you when that was.
Okay.
It was probably sometime during that night, and
Yeah, it would have been real late for you.
Yeah.
You would have probably had the sun coming up on you by then.
Okay.
I would assume. Or
Okay.
right around that. So. All right, so first night. What would you have liked? What would you have changed the first night?
I don't know. I've toyed with the idea that it'd be kind of cool to have the first night be on the lower section of the river where it's wider and you can kind of relax. Whereas the first night,
That's not what I mean. You can't change it.
No, I know, exactly.
So you have to deal with the river. What would you change to make it better for you?
Have more iced coffee.
Okay. What about a light?
No, I don't know that.
Wouldn't change that.
I don't know that if I had, a big old light, if I would have liked using it. I mean, it was kind of nice eventually, it was nice to just be in the dark. So for anybody that's going to do this and has some trepidation about it, I would just, charge ahead. I was kind of glad in a way that there weren't other, racers that I was running across.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a different effect as well. I don't know what I would have changed.
Well, you were with other racers. You were just passing them.
Just couldn't see them.
They were sleeping.
Oh yeah. Well, I did get the sense of that sometimes, but I don't know. I don't know that I would necessarily have changed anything.
Now, so if you do put a spotlight on the front of your boat, it doesn't blind you.
Yeah.
All you see is what's in front of you.
I have to try that. I've
pretty
never.
neat.
Yeah, because the headlamp that's a non-starter.
So if you're, as you say, you wanted to just finish, that was your goal.
Yeah.
Which is a great goal at one of these races. But if you want to race, you're going to need the light.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does help. Sitting down, you can go fast sitting down because if you hit something, you kind of just slam into it. Yeah, it hurts.
Right.
Staying up, you're just getting tossed.
Yeah, just getting tossed.
Which you did say.
Yep.
How many times did you go on that night?
Twice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little bit more than that.
Yeah. It was 3 times during the first 24 hours, but 1 was during the day.
Did you get wet?
Did I get wet?
Yeah.
No, I was tossed in like kerplunk.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Meaning, like, if I go in the middle of the night, I'm usually back in my boat as quick as I go out of it.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes I wonder if I'm
like hitting a trampoline.
Oh, just in and out.
Yeah.
Because you did get to go into the Okefenokee Swamp the day before and see all the alligators. And
well, and both times, interestingly, I did not touch ground. I mean, it was deep enough.
Probably in a bend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like a little deep spot or whatever. Yeah.
I would
was back on the
much
board
prefer
quickly.
not to touch anything.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's wild out there at night. You can only experience it if you actually experience it. All right, so through the first night, tell us about the second day. Sun comes up. How did that feel when the sun came up?
Well, you had told me that when the sun comes up, you feel rejuvenated, and that's 100% true. I knew that I was going to be seeing my wife, which is also, something I was looking forward to. But, with the storm having gone through there a week before and different boat ramp or access points being closed.
A hurricane came through.
Yeah.
Hurricane Ida.
So we had to keep kind of pushing that off. And fortunately, there was enough cell service where I could let her know. It's like, well, not this one, next one. But that was the night before.
Mm-hmm.
So I was communicating with her at 10 p.m. about where she was going to meet me originally at 8. But then that got pushed off to like 10 or whatever time it was the next morning. But it was still, to look forward to see her, and she was going to bring me a latte.
Great motivation.
And stuff yeah, it's great motivation.
Oh, yeah.
So, but with that sun coming up, I felt it's weird. So I'll tell my wife, I hope I never forget that feeling of, the sun going down on the first night, and how it seems to take forever, and then it happens in a flash too. It's weird.
Yeah,
But then-
the moon came up.
Yep. But then the first light of dawn, after you've been paddling all night, is a special thing. And so seeing that felt rejuvenated, and then most of that second day, I felt good until getting into the evening, getting into Brantford, whatever that checkpoint was to Brantford. I think I was hitting a wall.
That's a stretch.
Yeah,
And
that
it was straight, and it was windy.
yeah, and it seemed like it's like, did I pass Brantford 50 miles ago? It's like this is taking forever.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like it was all an endless eddy for miles. It's like there was no current. I'm sure there was. This is just what it felt like.
Yeah.
And so so that was.
We were fortunate with the current.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so that was kind of a rough part of the whole thing, that section.
So that probably led to your downfall the second night.
What probably did, I think I was just, I was writing, I was trying to be conservative the whole time because I didn't want to burn myself up.
Mm-hmm.
But so interestingly though, because I saw my wife just for a few minutes at Brantford, and I was seriously considering dropping out of the race then.
But you saw her before Brantford, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was 20 miles or 25 miles before that.
Yeah, the bridge.
The bridge. And that seemed to take 50 miles. I mean, that was just a rough stretch for me. And I wanted to, I was seriously considering dropping, but I saw her sitting there on that little dock for just a couple minutes, kind of exchanging some stuff. And then I was like, I just got to get out of here, And so just give me my stuff. I just got to go. Because the longer I sit here, the more likely it is that I'll just, call it. And so got back on the board and took off. And then going into night 2.
So it was still daytime at that point.
Yeah, it was evening, I don't know, 7 o'clock or 7:30, something like that.
How is your nutrition going to this point? What are you just eating peanut butter and jellies?
Yeah, and she brought me stuff and like croissants and some sandwiches. One nice thing about paddleboarding or paddling in general, these kind of events, I don't have a lot of experience with it, but I can eat solid food, whereas running ultra marathons on trails, it's so hard to eat like a sandwich, half the way through. But I think I had enough food, I had enough water. I was peeing a lot,
Right.
all that kind of stuff. But I think I was just kind of getting spent and just getting tired with not being used to going longer than 24 hours.
Was it breezy through that section?
Oh yeah,
Because it was for me.
yeah. It's in my face, breezy.
I do the question to God, like, does the wind ever blow in our favor on these races?
Exactly.
I mean, it's in your face the entire time.
I mean, I was, and there were people, there were boats, So you're dealing with boat wakes and all that stuff.
Yeah,
And
it's a very lively area. There's a lot of springs on that part of the river.
Yeah, and it was but I was yelling at myself. I was yelling at the wind. It's like, oh, come on.
I love it.
But yeah, finally getting through there and then getting into the second night. I just think I was kind of worn out.
So you say that was your toughest moment during the race,
Yes.
or were there more?
No, like physically, that was the only time where I was like, I just, I don't think this is going to work.
Okay.
This is too long, blah, 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 blah. I call it my whiny, bitchy face.
Yeah.
And so fortunately, it didn't last.
All right, so you get back in the boat.
Yep.
Going into the second night.
Yep.
And I've always said this: the second night.
Well,
that's the experience.
Yeah, I mean, I had this surge of energy.
But that's in any race.
Yeah, she's cheering me on, and I'm back on the river. I'm not going to drop out. Here we go, night 2. Just like hoorah, right? And then I think I was just all of a sudden, as the sun started going down, I was just started hallucinating, and that, as you well know, I mean that's common, but I've never experienced it, and at no point
even during running.
Oh no, never,
okay,
never.
She's never pushing that far in running.
You might, I don't know, visualize a cheeseburger, but you're not surrounded by cheeseburgers, and it's fundamentally different.
All right.
But yeah, so that was it was wild. But at no time, was I scared of it or anything. Eventually, I realized I was hallucinating, but I got to the point where it was whenever it was 1 or so o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was going to meet my wife. And fortunately, fingers crossed, we had cell service so we could communicate, because she was having a hard time finding an appropriate boat ramp to meet me at.
See, I knew all this was actually going on.
Yeah,
because my wife and I were talking, and she was talking to your wife.
Right.
So
yeah,
I was concerned that you were going to quit at this point. So.
Well, I just knew at that point I kind of got 1 or 2, whatever time it was.
But real quick, let me explain myself.
Yeah, sure.
Meaning, when I thought there's a good possibility he could quit, is because we all go through those moments like you did before Brantford.
Mm-hmm.
It's just common that this happens.
Yeah.
And then it's your first time doing this. You're by yourself. Your wife sounds like she's having a hard time. I'm hoping she's not like communicating that with you.
And she never did. Yeah.
So she's amazing for not doing that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because some crews do communicate to the person they're crewing, and it can go south real fast.
Well, she and I fortunately have had that experience with some running races where she's gotten lost and she's gotten, she's had some issues. Then I start worrying about her, and then it's like mental spiral ensues. But in
because
this
mentally
case,
and physically, I think you have it.
Yeah.
Like I believe in you, man. Like I think you're one hell of a paddler. So,
yeah.
And you got the mind for it. So.
Yeah, but it was.
At least I think you do.
Yeah. Well, I think I might. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I just knew at middle of the night. It's like.
Well,
okay.
you've proved it. You finished the Suwannee 230 on a paddleboard. Out of all things.
Yeah. Well, but out of the top 5, it was 3 paddleboarders, right? So
amazing. It's
totally possible. I get like paddleboarding. I like the perspective it lends, because you're not sitting down. You're not, you're sitting up. You're standing up. You can see more of your surroundings. But
so going back to it, you're hallucinating. Yeah. Your wife's having a hard time finding you. Obviously, the hurricane. A lot of things were closed. It's late at night. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. You say you're seeing cheeseburgers. What else are you saying?
Oh no, I wasn't. That would have been nice, actually. I was just seeing, how I've described it to other people is sort of like, those pictures of ancient castles deep in a jungle in India. Okay. Stuff like that. Because I've been on that section of river. There are houses in some of it. And so maybe some of that was morphing into...
There's a lot of houses in that section of the
river.
Yeah. Yeah, there's actually the most houses are on that section of the river.
And so they were, I was seeing lots of houses. I was seeing stone grottos with all kinds of weird stuff in them. But what was interesting and where I called my wife and got really... where I realized that I was hallucinating was because I thought I was going in a circle. For a while I was paddling through neighborhoods with canals and all kinds of stuff. And then all of a sudden I started seeing the same houses again and again and again. And I stopped, and again, fortunately I had cell service. I called my wife, and it's like, I got this funny question. Because she could see me on RaceL, which is nice. Am I going in the right direction? I thought I got turned around. It's just all screwed up. And so she was able to text me
It's a legitimate question.
Yeah. So she texted me a screenshot that showed my little triangle going in the right direction. And for a while I was like, am I hallucinating this entire exchange with my wife? But it was interesting, the interplay of like reality and hallucination, because at one point I passed under a bridge and a car had gone across, and it was sort of like seeing the real car, I'm almost positive it was real, surrounded by hallucination. But I just knew at that point, it's like I could push on and go until whenever it would have been to get to Fanning Springs. I was like, I just got to get off the water for a little while. You know, I got to take a nap.
Yeah.
And so
Reset.
Yeah, reset. And so it probably could have taken less time. I think I was asleep for maybe, sort of crammed into the backseat of my truck for maybe an hour and a half.
That's not a lot of time. If you're not trying to win a race, and you have a 100-hour cutoff, why not
Yeah.
sleep for 5 hours?
Yeah, I wanted to, the whole time I wanted to challenge myself, and I couldn't rationally, so I really wanted to get to Fanning Springs at sunrise. And
So you had more goals than one.
well, yeah, I had, sub goals.
Right.
Because I really wanted to start that last section and do it during the day. And so, I got back on the water at 3 or whatever it was in the morning, and then got to Fanning Springs right at first light, and so that was cool.
Yeah.
But I had no hallucinations, and everything,
So once you slept for an hour and a half, everything
that
was gone.
nap is like pressing the reset button.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What were your inspirations and motivations? I mean, we already kind of covered some.
Oh,
Was there
to do the race?
Yeah, like before, like a race, a lot of people, including myself, I will put thoughts into my head, that to inspire me or motivate me when I know there's going to be tough times.
Yep.
What were yours, if any?
I wouldn't. So one of the things I would do differently, I brought the ability to have music with me, because one of the sections I did, I had like a little Bluetooth speaker, and I was going to play music. I didn't play any music.
Really? Not once?
Not once.
Jeez, I love it.
I know, and so do I. But I didn't.
Yeah,
I was
you
just-
really reacted to it when we played music on the MR340.
Oh, it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. But I didn't do it. I didn't have. I don't know. There weren't images or anything like that I was trying to cling to. I was really just trying to enjoy the experience, and most of the time I did. And but music would have been nice.
Why don't you play it?
I do this sometimes where like I'll when I would run these races, I'd have my little iPod, and it's all in my little vest, and it's all set to go, loaded up, and I just forget it, forget it. But next time I'll play some music.
All right, so you're on the last 30 miles of the race.
Yeah.
Fanning Springs to Suwannee Sea, 30
Yeah.
miles. Maybe
Yeah.
32, maybe?
32, something like that. Who's counting?
I finished it early in the morning.
Yes.
And at nighttime, it's really calm.
Yes. Well, the first time I went through that section, it was really calm.
How was it that day?
Windy.
And
And-
was the wind with you
And
or
an
against
incoming
you?
tide. Well, it can only but be against you.
Oh yeah,
You know,
always.
in your face. I was at that point, and it started getting hot. Because what did I finish at, like 1 or 2 o'clock in
Sure.
the afternoon? And it was getting hot, and those are long, kind of winding stretches that seem like they just go on. It's
They
beautiful.
do go on forever.
Yeah.
Whether it's nighttime and calm
Yeah.
or daytime and windy, it does not
Yeah,
matter.
I kept thinking the road to hell is paved with like water somehow, and it was, and there's no place to hide from the wind. You just have to kind of suck it up and just keep paddling, right? But then the oncoming tide, and it was, I don't know, that was not a lot of fun.
It's not.
No. And then the first time I went through there, like I said, it was calm. And there are these areas where I was sort of like mental markers. well, once I get here, I know I've only got about this much further to go.
Right.
But the conditions were so different. I couldn't. It all looked different. And so there's that one, I called it Sturgeon
And
Pond.
you really want to finish, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you know you're getting close, but it's that the last handful of miles can
That's the
seem
never-ending river.
exponentially longer.
The bend goes on and on and on, and then when you get to the where you think the end is, it goes back in, and then it goes on, and you're thinking, how long can this bend be?
Yeah. Yeah, how is it possible? And that's where knowing where you are can be helpful, but can also be like, why does these last 3 miles seem like they're taking 10 hours? But yeah, I mean, so that was a rough way to finish. But
Did you find yourself stop paddling? Like you're just like, if the bend goes on forever, it's like, I'm just gonna stop.
Well, it was getting hot, and so probably half a dozen times, or maybe, I don't know, 3 to 5 times, several times, let's say, I just real quick jumped off the board, got wet, and then got back on the board and started paddling. But the wind was right in my face, and it was that warm, steady wind that dried me out real quick. And so, then I hop back in again, get back on the board, keep paddling. And there was a few times where the wind was strong enough where, I don't know, maybe I was going 2 miles an hour,
easily.
But I was just like, just keep paddling. Eventually you're going to get there. And, eventually
Did you use the spring suit at all?
No.
Those things were amazing. But you're right. I mean, I noticed that. After I would get into a spring, first of all, it's really hard to get into a spring because it's so freaking cold. But after you get out, you feel amazing. But the wind would dry you out.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, unfortunately, the Suwannee, as you know, the temperature of the water is very pleasant. So
Because it's fed by so many springs.
Yeah, and for getting yourself wet, it was couldn't complain about that.
Right. All right. So last 30 miles. What are you thinking about towards the finish?
Get me off this river. get me off this river. I mean, it's a beautiful river, but come on.
Right.
You've
You've seen the same thing for a long time.
Yeah, well, it's beautiful, and so I mean I really enjoy being on the river, but it's like, okay, we got to be done now.
Right.
We're about done. But it's amazing because you finish and it's like you could always keep going, but I was glad that it was over at that point. If it was if it was 20 more miles, I would have continued to do it.
Yeah. Got to finish.
Yeah, it was kind of rough.
All right. And you finished third.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. And fourth overall, I think.
Fifth, I think.
Yes, fifth.
Yeah.
The extra lady. All right. Were you happy with that?
Oh, I was stoked. I mean, I kept thinking, not like I was, running from or like paddling away from people, but where's everybody? I was in that weird middle place where I was kind of with the first group, but I guess well ahead of other people, because the next person to finish was, like 5 hours or something after me.
And you were pretty close to beating Dave Harper.
Yeah. Well, I guess when I left Brantford for that second night, he was asleep, and so he passed me when I was asleep.
Mm-hmm.
I still would have slept even if I knew that he was.
You made the right decision then.
Yeah.
You thought that last 30 miles was tough. Imagine if you didn't sleep.
Yeah.
You would have went into another world.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
We would have found you with the swamp people.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. Would you do it again?
Oh yeah.
On a paddleboard?
Yes.
Like next year, do it again?
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But why?
Well, I mean, now you've done something. You want to go back and see if you can do it better or do it different. Should I ration my sleep? Should I sleep a little bit first night?
Okay.
A little bit second night? Change the food situation. Get the kind of the where am I on this river situation figured out. There's once you do, well, even a running race, same thing. You start kind of not second guessing, but you start thinking, okay, next time I do it, would I do it?
It sounds like the next time you do it, your goal is not to finish anymore.
Well, my goal is, I'm used to racing against myself. I don't necessarily, especially running races where you're running with elite people, you're not going to win. It's just not possible.
Why?
Well, because some of these ultra marathons, people do this for a living. They're just going to put more into it than I'm willing to put into it.
But sometimes ignorant people, meaning first timers,
Oh, sure, they'll blow the doors off.
you never know what's in your tank.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been some amazing first time finishes for people.
Mm-hmm.
So you just they're human, just like we are.
But I would definitely do it again, and just try to have an even better time, and just kind of experience it a second time. I've done multiple like running races multiple times, and it's fun to go back and see how it changes, because it's probably going to be a different experience.
And they're done. I know what you mean.
Yep.
So all right. So this is your third paddling race you've done. You have one last paddler experience, one last paddler standing experience, a good one. You have a Guinness record on the way for you.
Right.
And then you have a third place podium finish. Pretty darn impressive for just starting out.
Yep.
I already know you're doing the last paddler standing.
Oh yeah.
Which is in December. And if you want to follow a great event in December 4th or 5th?
No, it's like the 9th.
Okay, well,
9th and 10th.
close. Anyways, last paddler standing, look it up.
Early December.
We'll be paddling around the lake in Sarasota, 3.33 miles over and over and over until basically somebody quits in 48 hours. So it's eventful.
Yeah.
What would you say, or any kind of advice you would give to someone that wants to do this kind of stuff?
Oh, just start. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this the other day, and I think the barriers to entry for something like this, compared to, running an ultra marathon up in the mountains somewhere, are a lot lower.
Mm-hmm.
I think physically more people can do this, even though it sounds crazy and it's hard. It is hard, but yeah, I mean, just start.
Just a different cost. You get a pair of running shoes and you go through the mountain.
For sure. Yeah, so that's very different. That's true. But when I did the last paddler standing the first time, it's only happened one time. I was on sort of, in hindsight, a ridiculous paddleboard that I didn't really even know how to paddle very well. But like, just start. You can learn as you go, and
it was a great time.
Yeah, it was a great time.
Absolutely.
And it'd be cool if I don't know who finished the Suwannee, like the sprint or the marathon, or like the shorter version. I think a few people did that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also a viable option, to dabble your toe in this kind of stuff. But it's a great way to see beautiful places that most of your friends and neighbors are never going to see.
And meet wonderful people.
Absolutely.
It's a great group of people in the ultra world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure running and paddling.
Yeah, but it's different. This is even more community oriented.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why is that? Why do you feel that way?
I think because it's just smaller.
Okay.
You go to some of these races, and there might be hundreds of people from all over
That
the
makes
place,
sense.
and it's. I think the running world is exponentially larger than the paddling world,
Mm-hmm.
and then you make that even smaller when you think about ultra distance paddling. So you get to know people.
Yeah. There are a few races. The MR 340, there was 600 paddlers there.
Yeah.
So, but there's always that group inside those groups. So, and then of course the Chad Jack, but that's 35 miles. I guess that's not considered ultra.
It's still a long way.
Brandon, thanks.
Yep. Thank you.
Pleasure, man.